Hello, students. Welcome to geometry. This is our first lesson of the year, section 1.1, understanding points, lines, and planes. This is also probably the most important lesson of the year. So make sure that you understand everything that we talk about in this video, and if you don't, you can always email me with questions. Let's get started. So we're going to talk about a lot of vocabulary today. I encourage you all to have the notes open as you watch this video. There's going to be a couple times throughout the video that I will pause it. I'll tell you to pause it, and then you could go to the notes and try a couple problems on your own. So if you don't have the notes open right now, I'll go ahead and pause the video right now, get the notes out that match up with this from our section 1.1 in our chapter 1 folder, and then come back when you're ready. All right, so first term we're going to talk about today is a point. Its definition is just a location in space. It does not have any size whatsoever. Okay, you can see there's a diagram of a point right here. And if I was to label that point, if I was trying to give it a name, well, it has a name, it's P, so you just write point P, okay? Points are named with a capital letter. So I'm just going to write that here. 1 capital letter. I know this is your first time seeing me write, and I apologize for my handwriting. It is not good. So if you ever don't know what I wrote down, just email me, school message me, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Second term is a line. A line is a collection of points on a straight path. It goes on forever in both directions. It has no endpoints. Okay, you can see here's a diagram of a line, and you might be thinking there's 3 points on that line, but that is not correct. There's actually infinitely many points on that line. We can only see 3 of them. There's only 3 that have names. K is not a point, okay? We'll get to that in a second. But A, H, and B are points. There are 2 different ways to name a line. So I'm going to draw a little line here, no pun intended, and we're going to talk about the 2 different ways we can name a line. One way is with 2 points on the line. So it doesn't have to be any particular 2 points, just pick 2 points. For example, you could write AH, or AB, or HB, or BA, or anything like that. And then what we do is we put a little line hat on top of it. So basically it's just a little line, and it's called a line hat. Make sure it has arrows on both sides, because a line has arrows on both sides because it goes on forever. The other way to name a line is with 1 lowercase cursive letter. Okay, and you can see that that's what that K is. Okay, so we can also just call this line K. Next term is a plane. A plane is a flat surface, basically. It's 2 dimensions, it has a length and a width, and it goes on forever in every direction. So there's a lot of examples in real life of planes, but they're not real planes. They're pieces of a plane. So like a wall is part of a plane that goes on forever, or the floor, or the ceiling, things like that. There are 2 ways to name planes as well. So I'm going to draw our line here. One way is with 3 points that are on the plane. So an example here, you see there's 4 points on the plane, M, H, N, and O. Just pick 3 of them in any order. And we draw a little diagonal rectangle here that represents a plane, and then pick any 3 letters. So how about H, N, O? So plane H, N, O. The other way is with a capital cursive letter. So capital cursive letter, and that's what that B is in the bottom corner down there. Okay, B is not a point on the plane. So we can name this plane B. Next term is a segment. A segment is a piece of a line that stops in both directions. It has 2 endpoints. So you can see here, that's a segment. okay? There's only one way to name a segment. To name segments, we must use the two endpoints. So a segment is named by its two endpoints. So in this case, in this picture, we would call this segment FG. And what you do is you put a little segment hat on top of it. No arrows, because segments don't go on forever. So that's just what our segment looks like. Okay, the next term is an endpoint. That's pretty specific. It's just basically a point at the end of a segment or array, which we'll get to next. So those are endpoints right there. And those are just named just like points are with one capital letter. So F or G in this case. Next one's array. Array is half line, half segment. It goes on forever in one direction and stops in the other direction. So you can see here we have a array, JK, and array is named. You always have to start with the endpoint and then go through one other point. So to name this one, we can name this one JK, and we put a little array hat on top of it. All right, I'm going to take a quick pause there for a second. I want to go back to a couple different pieces here. See all the way up here, line AH, and right here, segment FG, and right here, array JK. The line and the segment, you can flip those letters. You could call the line HA. You could call the segment GF. You cannot call the array KJ, because that's when you want to start with the endpoint, and K is not the endpoint here. All right, last one on this page here is opposite rays. That's two rays that go on forever. Now, you might look at this picture and say, well, that's not two rays, that's just a line. Well, what if we highlight these in different colors here? Now it looks like they're two rays. So again, to name rays, you want to start at the endpoint. The endpoint for both these rays is T. So you would write TW with a ray hat and TX with a ray hat. And again, you cannot call those XT or WT because you want to start at the endpoint T. All the way at the bottom down there, to form a plane, you need 3 points, but they can't just be specific points. For example, if I just do like that, those points would not form a plane because I can draw a line through them. They have to be 3 points that you cannot draw a line through, like that. We call those non-collinear. So NONCOLLINEAR, non-collinear points. Basically points that are not on the same line. Okay? We'll skip this for now. A couple more vocab words that I have written out for you here. The first one's collinear. Well, if non-collinear means not on the same line, then collinear means on the same line. So you can see here that F, G, and H are not collinear. But you could say F and G are, or F and H are, because they are on the same line. And that is the same for our next term, coplanar. Coplanar means on the same plane. So you can say W, X, and Y are on the same plane, but Z is not. So W, X, and Y are coplanar, but W, X, Y, and Z are not coplanar. Okay? Figures that intersect share a common set of points. In other words, one figure crosses through the other. So in the first figure, we have segment FH and line FG intersecting here at point F. Two lines will always intersect at a point if they intersect at all. And in the second picture, we have a line going through a plane. I know it's hard to see 3 dimensions in 2D, but picture a pencil going through your desk. That's what we have there. And the line intersects the plane at point X. All right, so a couple more problems that we'll take a look at here together. The first one, that's a ray. So I would say out loud, ray PQ. And I would write PQ with a ray hat on top of it. Number 2, the arrow's just pointing at T. So I would say that's endpoint T, and I would just write T. Number 3, it's a line. You can tell it's a line because it goes on in both directions. So I would say line MN and write MN with a line head on top of it. Now, could I write NM? Yes, you sure can. Number 4 is a plane. So remember, for a plane, you got to pick out 3 points. Okay? There's only 3 points there, so you don't have a choice. You have to use those 3, but in any order. I could say plane JKL like I wrote here, or I could write KLJ or LKJ or LJK or any order. And finally, number 5, that's a segment. So I would say segment AB, and I would write AB with the segment head on top of it. Could I write BA? Yes. All right, number 6, list all the possible names for each figure. So number 6A, there's a lot of names here. So I'm going to ask you right now to pause this video and try to write down all the names you can think of for A and for B. Now B is a plane. So for A is a line and B is a plane. Name them as many different ways as possible. And then when you're done, come back and watch the answers. Okay, hopefully you've had a chance to try it. So number 6A, one answer is line M. Hopefully you didn't forget that way of writing it. All the other answers involve 2 points. So for example, AB or BA, AC or CA, or BC or CB. So technically there's 4 answers, but there's 7 different ways you can write them if you flip the letters on those last 3. And for 6B, plane R is one way. And the rest of the ways, now there's 6 different ways you can do this, but basically just involves mixing up those letters. So MPA, MAP, PAM, PMA, AMP, any order is fine. All right, I'm going to ask you to do the same thing again. Pause the video once again and try 7A and B. Just draw a picture that matches those sentences. Come back when you're ready. Seven A says to draw a segment. So there's a segment. Endpoints H and G. And somewhere in the middle, anywhere you want, U. So that's one answer. 7B says to draw a ray. So ray has one endpoint and one arrow. The endpoint is L. And anywhere on that line, on that ray, put an A. Okay, number 8, name a line containing F. Well, here's that line. There's a lot of ways to name it. Pick out 2 letters, E, A, or F, and write them down. Just 2 of them. So one example answer is EA. You could also write EF or AE or FA or FE. Any of those would work. For B, name 3 coplanar points. Now there's a lot of answers for this one. There's 5 points that are coplanar. Any 3 of those would be great. So how about C, E, and F? And those 3 points are coplanar. But if you wrote C, B, and F, or E, A, and C, that would be fine too. Any 3 of those 5 points. Name a line segment on N. So here's N right here. The only segment we can write there is where the 2 points are, so D and A. So the only answer for this is segment DA. Or AD, of course. You could mix those up. Name a ray with endpoint D. Now this one literally only has one answer. Here's the ray that we can write. And endpoint is D, so it must be DA, but this time it's going to be a ray DA. So you gotta put a ray hat on top of it. Big difference between segment DA and ray DA. Name 3 points that are collinear. You have 2 different answers that are here good for this one. You can write these 3 points or these 3 points. So for mine, I'm just going to write E, A, and F. Notice how in parts B and part E, so this one and this one, I'm separating my answers by commas because you're naming points. That's the only time we should really be doing commas is when we're giving multiple answers. So for B and E, we're giving multiple answers here, 3 points, or 3 points that are coplanar. Then I'm separating those by commas. Last one, name the intersection of EA and AB. So here's EA, here's AB. That's a pretty easy one. They both intersect at this point right here, point A. So one last time, go ahead and pause the video and please try the last problem, problem number 9. If you get stuck on it, that's okay. Just do your best and come back when you're ready. Okay, 9A, the plane containing G. Well, that is this brown plane right here. Basically, all you gotta do is write down plane B, and that would be your answer. But there's a lot of other answers that'll work too. Pick out any 3 points that are on that brown plane. So G, R, L, or TWP, and that could also be the name of the plane. So I'm going to write TLG. Okay, all these points and these points are on that plane. So any 3 of those 6 would work. Name a pair of rays on line M. Remember, that means line M. This is line M right here. So a pair of rays, so any 2 rays. So just pick out a point, and let's do R. And we'll say RP is one of them, and RS is another one. Name 3 collinear points not on M. Well, that means we have to use the other line that we see here, line L. So 3 points. I know you see 4 points there, and that's great. So just pick out any 3. How about L, R, and T? You could have also used W if you wanted to. Part D, name the intersection of the 2 lines. The 2 lines intersect right there at point R. And part E, the last one here, name the intersection of 2 planes. This one's kind of a tough one. Again, it's kind of hard to see 3 dimensions and 2 dimensions, but this is the intersection of both planes. This line right here goes through both planes. It goes through the brown plane and the clear plane. So just name that line. And there's a lot of ways you can name it. You could name it line L, or you can pick out any 2 letters of L, W, R, and T. So one example would be line LW, or WL, or RW, or TL, lots of different possibilities. All right, that is the end of 1.1. I advise you now to try the 1.1 homework, and when you're ready, you can go ahead and get started with section 1.2.